Hey guys, Jason Creel, and you're watching the Lawn Care Life YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about different types of warm season grasses, and maybe I can even find a cool season grass, I'm not sure. In Alabama, I just don't see a lot of that. So, but we're going to talk about the warm season grasses, so stay tuned. All right, I'm going to start off with what seems to be the most common grass by far in my area is Bermuda. Typically, you know, in these new neighborhoods, most of the time the landscapers or the contractors just putting out Bermuda sod. It is the cheapest option around here, and it has a lot of good qualities that make it ideal for the South. So, you know, I'm not as familiar with other parts of the country, but you know, here you need a grass that's very drought tolerant. Bermuda is extremely drought tolerant. It spreads quickly. You know, there's just a lot of benefits to it. Now, I would say, you know, compared to other types of grasses that I deal with, Bermuda does not necessarily do a great job of choking out weeds on its own, but the good thing is that it's tolerant of many types of herbicides. So, you know, with the proper lawn care treatment program, you can keep it clean and keep it looking good. So, Bermuda is very versatile. I mean, you see that, you know, people use Bermuda for putting greens on the golf course, and you're talking about cutting it short, cutting it high. It's very versatile in that, but depending on how you're cutting it, you may have to vary how much water you put to it and how frequently you mow it. For instance, if you want to have a putting green, you're going to need to cut it every day or every other day and keep plenty of water to it. Where in a drier season, I try to encourage people to let their Bermuda grow taller, longer, and so it doesn't dry out so quickly. So, but anyway, you can see this Bermuda here has a decent color to it. We've had a lot of rain, had rain today, so. Moving on. I tell you what, while I walk, I might review you on some of the weeds. What's that one? Nutsedge, not just nutsedge, but go a little bit further as I'm going to try to clarify in another video. Yellow nutsedge is usually taller and has a very fine point on it. So I feel pretty confident that this is yellow nutsedge as opposed to purple nutsedge, which is not actually purple. Review on your weeds here. That is a fun noodle. It's not a weed. This, you got two classic, what I consider wet area weeds here right beside each other. Kalinga, you know, remember it has a little spiky ball on it, and then Virginia buttonweed. I hate both of those. Not really, but I see them a lot. All right, so let me show you. Tell you what, look here at this. This is some sod that has been put out this year, and this is Zoysia. We're going to talk about two different kinds of Zoysia. This, and I wish this was established, but it's not. But it is rooted to the ground, but. This is emerald zoysia. So the two types of zoysia that I typically see in my area is emerald zoysia and Z52 zoysia. And so the emerald zoysia, the way I tell those two apart, I'm you know, like I said, those are the two I'm seeing most often, but the emerald zoysia typically grows extremely thick. I've seen it where when it's fertilized, I mean, it becomes difficult to cut with a lawnmower because it is growing so thick. It has a very fine blade that grows very close together. So what I like about emerald zoysia is it's very shade tolerant. So here in the South, we just don't have a lot of options, at least in my area, for warm season grasses that will grow in the shade. I mean, and I should have said that earlier about Bermuda. Bermuda, that's one of the downsides. It is extremely friendly to the sun. So meaning you'll see a nice Bermuda yard with an oak tree in the yard, and it will very much struggle underneath the tree. So what we encourage people to do is you can landscape that area, or if it gets some sunlight, a few hours at least, then you might consider putting emerald zoysia underneath that tree, because the Bermuda and the emerald zoysia, you can definitely tell them apart, but they don't look so awkward when they're together. So a lot of times people have a shady area in their yard, they might put some emerald zoysia, and the rest of the sunny part of the yard will be Bermuda. So I love the emerald zoysia. It looks great when it's established. Like I said, it grows very thick and great option for shade. This is some just fresh piece of sod, but this is actually Z52 zoysia. A little bit wider leaf blade, doesn't grow quite as dense. Again, much more shade tolerant than Bermuda, but not as shade tolerant as the emerald zoysia. So Z52, yeah, and that's the thing. The emerald, just because they're more shade tolerant, they also they do well in the sun. It's not that they, neither would grow in pure shade. I tell people, the grass won't grow in a closet like that, so it needs some sun. But the emerald zoysia, maybe you can see them kind of side by side here. You got emerald, and you got the Z52. Now that Z52 here will get a little bit darker color to it. It's just, like I said, it's just fresh sod. It's not even rooted. So you got a little Bermuda. I'm going to show you a little bit more zoysia over here. I want to clarify. This is actually okay. You can see them side by side right here. You can see the okay, not the nutsedge, but you can see the Z52 right here and the emerald right here, and you can see finer leaf blade, slightly wider leaf blade on the Z. So wider on the Z52, finer on the emerald. And I may overstay while I go when I say very shade tolerant. Not that they necessarily prefer the shade. I guess very shade tolerant as compared to the grasses I deal with. It's kind of your best option. It's not, but not probably compared to some cool season grasses that would not be considered shade tolerant. Now, let me show you this. Moving over here, you got some St. Augustine. So not the best looking St. Augustine, but St. Augustine nonetheless. Actually got some, doesn't look too good at all. Got a little brown spots on the leaf here, but St. Augustine's also fairly shade tolerant. We don't see. I'm actually pretty far north to have St. Augustine, so I don't see it much at all. If you go down to the coast or in Florida, they see St. Augustine all the time. But it will survive here as long as we don't get too cold in the winter. And like I said, it will tolerate shade as well. St. Augustine's got this a much wider leaf blade. I find it quite easy to mow. It just seems to mulch up better because I guess it's not growing as dense, but it just seems like the leaves disappear on St. Augustine, where when you're cutting a thick Bermuda on, it's just grass clippings forever, So anyway, I like St. Augustine. It's just not very much of an option here where I am. Yeah, you do see it as I'm looking at it now, but not very often. And I'm going to show you. You move over here, you see centipede, and this is, if you remember that weed from the other videos, that's Lespedeza. Lespedeza, from what I've been told, is the most successful weed in centipede lawns. So you'll see a lot, and what happens is it'll really choke out the centipede. You see how it's just matting up, and it'll eventually begin to really choke out the centipede. But centipede, you hear people call it lazy man's grass. I do think in some ways it can get by with less maintenance. It seems like you're able to keep the centipede lawn shorter with more frequent mowing. Again, easy to cut. Not as many clippings as a Zoysia or Bermuda lawn. Centipede, you got to be careful with it. You know, when we treat, there's a lot of lawn companies here in my area that won't mess with centipede lawns. It's more sensitive to herbicides. You got to be careful on not putting too much nitrogen on it with your fertilizer. You know, so there's some things that you have to do a little different with a centipede lawn, but you can have a nice centipede lawn. This one, you know, has some issues going on with it, but just wanted to show you the difference in the grasses. I'm gonna walk over here. I'll keep walking and talking at the same time here, and I want to show you what some nice Z52 looks like. So you can see here we got a seed head here of Dallas grass. It's real easy to recognize with that seed head. Those black seeds coming in the, you know, perpendicular to the stalk of the seed heads. The big clumpy grass. Problem is when Dallas grass is in centipede lawn, there's not much to do about it other than dig it up with a shovel. So moving on, got this big clumps of crabgrass, you know, and you see the crabgrass here, Dallas grass there, crab, Dallas. Now here we go. So I'll show you this. All right, I'm gonna try to get this right here. So, you know, I would consider this a weed, but so the guy who trains me, taught me, he has told me, let's see if we can see this on the video here. So you know, I used to get confused sometimes what was because we don't see cool season grasses much. And I say, well, which is a fescue and which is a ryegrass, you know? And well, I don't know if we can see it on here. Well, what he taught me was basically on a fescue, there's no defined mid-vein. And I just don't know if it's going to zoom in enough. But anyway, you can see ridges, or at least I can see ridges on this blade of grass, and it's just like evenly spaced out ridges and no real defined mid-vein, where so that's on a fescue. So on a rye there would be a definite mid-vein on the blade of grass. So that's one way to tell. So if I'm correct, then this is a clump of fescue. All right, look at this. I'm almost positive that's Bahia grass without the stalk. Bahia typically puts out a big tall Y-shaped stalk, but it usually has a pinkish purple base to it. Again, some of this is review if you've seen other videos. Anyway, I think that's Bahia grass. I'm not 100% sure. All right, let me look there. That's some spurge. Centipede is recovering. We had a pretty severe drought last year, so a lot of the centipedes did not favor well at all. So some of it's recovering from that. Get over here into some Bermuda. Nice thick Bermuda here. Like I said, when you cut the Bermuda, it gets really thick. And now let me show you what the Z52 is supposed to look like. Z52 Zoysia. You know, it's just, look, this is, you know, very thick Z52 here. So it can make a beautiful lawn. One of my favorites. So now there's some Bahia grass for sure. Look at this. Look at that big Y-shaped stalk. See that? I mean, it becomes very easy to pick out when you see that. Dallas grass with the big, you know, its stalk. Now let me show you this, because I think this is going to make sense to you here. And I hope I'm getting this right. So I'm going to show you the yellow nut sedge versus purple nut sedge. So you see, this is the yellow. I got that real fine point on it, lighter colored leaf, and sticks up a little taller. Come over here, you got purple. It's darker, and the leaves don't grow as tall. They more, you know, lay down a little bit. And the point on it is not quite as fine. So I feel like, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong on this, I feel like that is purple, this is yellow. Purple, yellow. Okay, so why is that important? It's, well, some products, some herbicides out there, like for instance, I use Blindside a lot. Blindside will have some effect on yellow nut sedge, but not so, doesn't work so well on purple nut sedge. Now, my understanding, purple is a little bit more difficult to control. That's why when you use a sedge product like Sedge Hammer or Pro Sedge, typically they'll work on both yellow and purple sedges. So it does help to be able to identify between the two. So let's see if we can find a few more weeds here. Look at this. Look at that Kalinga. You know, so you talk about the spiky balls, that becomes very easy to identify. Again, similar to a sedge. Sedge products will have some effect on it. Blindside works great. Celsius works pretty well. Lespedeza, you know, more Lespedeza. Let me show you a little bit more here. So look what happens when you spray. Well, let me show you a couple things here. Spurge, we talked about it, and then Lespedeza. But now look at this Lespedeza that's been sprayed. You know, one product you use on Lespedeza is Change Up, but it's almost like it defoliates the plant. I mean, you see it turning yellow, but it also just seems to take the leaves right off of it. So it really does a number on it and help to where it doesn't, like I say, it grows so thick it begins to choke out your lawn. So and it's just eat up. It's all in centipede lawns for whatever reason. Now I'll show you one final weed. Wrap this up. This is actually goosegrass. So a big clump of that. You see it on golf course greens and that sort of thing. And sometimes when they're mowing a golf green, you know, it'll just, it's amazing how weeds are able to survive. They'll be mowed and they just keep adapting no matter how low you cut. That's why some homeowners make the mistake. They think, well, I've got a yard full of weeds, I'll just cut my grass really low and that should help. Well, it's not necessarily true. A lot of times you're putting more strain on the actual turf and not, you know, the weeds are able to adapt and survive and you're putting a lot of strain on your actual lawn. So that's not always the best idea. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you learned something about weeds and grass types. If you would like more information, want to keep in touch with the videos, I'd encourage you to subscribe to the channel and try to continue to provide relevant content for you. Thanks.